Beauty seekers, you reach for it before a beach day, a long walk, a summer afternoon. You trust it to protect you. But what if the sunscreen in your bag is quietly doing the opposite? What if it's barely protecting you from the sun, letting your skin age faster, while some of what's inside soaks straight into your body? Today, we're talking with Breelyn Vanleeuwen, also known as Mrs. Sunscreen. She's going to teach us three things: what your sunscreen is really doing and not doing to your skin, the hidden ingredients many clean sun protection brands don't want you to notice, and how to scan any sunscreen list like a pro. And we turn everything she's going to teach us into a SAFE Sunscreen Scan. 4 simple questions you can ask yourself to know if your sun protection is truly protecting your skin or not. Beauty seekers, think back. We slathered on baby oil to bake in the sun. We laid out at noon with no hat and no shade. We chased the deepest tan we could get. It felt harmless. It wasn't. Up to 80% of how our skin ages, the fine lines, the leathery texture, and the dark spots come from the sun, not from getting older. And the scary part, the damage is invisible for years before it shows up in the mirror. Today, Breelyn Vanleeuwen, Mrs. Sunscreen, shares how our sun habits catch up with us and what to do to protect our skin starting now. Stay with us because we'll be turning everything Mrs. Sunscreen is teaching us into a SAFE Sunscreen Scan. 4 simple questions you can ask yourself to know if your sun protection is truly protecting your skin in a healthy way or not. Bree, take me back to your younger years in the sun. What did you actually do? Where did you go? What did you put on your skin that you would never do now?
I loved the intro because, yes, I was a sun worshiper. I was laying out at Lake Powell in 104-degree weather. I don't even know what the UV index was. It wasn't even a thing for people to know the UV index. Now, all of my nieces are looking on TikTok for the UV index. That wasn't even a thing back in the day, right? But I was terrible. I was in tanning beds and I was trying to put the little, heart or Playboy bunny on my hip, not even knowing what those symbols meant. I had no idea. The education wasn't there. My mom was, yeah, go tanning. Yes, there just wasn't the education that we have today.
No, not at all. I remember pictures of my mom, super tan and pink lipstick, and there were the babies. We were all super tan. So
burned, probably. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Beauty seekers, Breelyn Vanleeuwen, who goes by Bree and is known to all of us as Mrs. Sunscreen, is a physician associate who spent years in reconstructive facial plastic surgery, where she saw firsthand what the sun does to skin over a lifetime. She's the founder, CEO, and formulator of her own sunscreen line, Daily Shade. Bree, welcome to Beauty Seek.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. So excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you. We need this education. It's shocking how much I don't know, how much my friends don't know. After you and I spoke the other day, I got my daughter to change her sunscreen.
Oh, good.
And hopefully we'll have a few more converts after this interview. When you first started digging into the research on skin damage and aging, on a scale of 1 to 10, how surprised were you by how much of it traces back to the sun?
I don't know that I was that surprised by it because that was my background. I had been in medicine for so many years. I think the part that did surprise me was how much of it was linked to damage that was done in the youth period. I think all of us in our mind understand that the sun ages you and it does create hyperpigmentation and dark spots, sunspots, wrinkles, all the things. I think that we now connect that. But what we're not connecting, especially in this country, is that the damage starts so much younger and earlier than we think. So by the time most people in the country, the data shows by the time they start wearing sunscreen on a fairly regular basis, it's not till they're in their late 30s. Some people start using it intermittently in their late 20s, early 30s, but that is far too late to start a daily protective habit of sunscreen. So that was the biggest unlock and surprise for me, is not, oh, the sun damages skin. I think we know that. I knew that, but at a much earlier age than I had thought of in my mind, because there I was brushing my teeth, putting on my sunscreen, and then my makeup that has sunscreen in it, layering all these things on. And it hit me one day when my daughter was standing next to me that I was doing this habit for myself. And there wasn't one moment where I thought, hey, I need to protect your skin too. You're going out in the car and going to the park just like I am. And I'm so worried about my skin because I don't want to have wrinkles. But it didn't even cross my mind that she should have that sunscreen on as well, because we weren't going to the pool or the beach. We were just, doing our day. And when I started doing the research, it really unlocked something for me.
Okay, so true. Honestly, I don't think I've ever had a sunscreen lesson from my mom. I had a how to wash my face lesson,
Right.
but not a sunscreen lesson. We looked at the Skin Cancer Foundation, and what they say is about 23% of lifetime sun exposure happens by the time you're 18.
Mm-hmm.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think people underestimate the damage they did to their skin as teenagers?
I don't think people have fully realized that, because a lot of the arguments that come up is people will say, well, we're starting to use sunscreen more than ever and the skin cancer rates are skyrocketing. And what you want to say to those people is yes, because our generation, where now we are getting diagnosed with skin cancer, we didn't use sun protection. I mean, very rarely do I meet someone that says, oh, my mom was a real stickler about sunscreen. That is a rare moment. Most of us weren't even talked to about that. We weren't thinking about it. And then skin cancer takes decades to develop, right? So the sun damage is done when we're in our youth. It's irreversible. Once the DNA damage is done, it's done. But it takes decades to present. And we don't see that for years and years and years down the road. I think people think if I get a sunburn last week, I'll get skin cancer tomorrow or in a month or in a year. It just doesn't work that way. It takes decades to develop. And so the thought of trying to prevent something in your young years and teens for a later date in your 30s, 40s, 50s, I mean, teens aren't even thinking about what they're doing next week, right? They're just thinking, what am I doing today and in the immediate future? So it's a really interesting being in the position that I am, trying to change people's habits. That is a really tricky thing. And then trying to change a young person's habit is very difficult. So yeah, I don't think that people are very much underestimating all of this. I think it's a fantastic point. We're just not thinking about it like we need to be.
And we dug a little deeper, and the Skin Cancer Foundation says that having 5 or more sunburns in your life doubles your risk of serious skin damage.
It doubles
And
your
I've
lifetime
had,
risk of melanoma, which is the most deadliest form of skin cancer. I mean, melanoma isn't just something you cut out. It kills people. Like my aunt is dying from a brain tumor from melanoma right now. It's not just you get it burned off your skin at the doctor's office. It's the most dangerous form of skin cancer, and it kills people.
we minimize it because it doesn't affect us. And I'm so sorry about your aunt.
No,
I,
same.
yeah, I mean, I've had friends in my life who've had to have kind of gouges taken out of their face to remove the cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a beautiful thing, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if it isn't to the point of it's metastasized and it's causing, terminal issues and death, it is very unsightly and creates horrible scars that could be prevented, right? And working in reconstructive facial plastics, I would see these young people come in because melanoma is actually the most common cancer in young people aged 26 to 30, which is really surprising for a lot of people. Because I think in our minds, we think it's just this disease of maybe like old white men, like 80-year-old men getting skin cancer burned off in the dermatology office, but it's so much bigger than that. It's the most common cancer in age 26 to 30. And the scars that we were seeing, because we were in reconstructive facial plastics, so they would come to us after they'd have the melanoma removed or the skin cancer removed. And it is so disfiguring and sad to see what they've had to go through. Sometimes we can't put everything back the way that it needs to be put back. There's forehead flaps. There's really extensive surgeries that could have been prevented, right? Like the majority of them could have been prevented.
And so I've lived a big chunk of my life, and, a little bit about my story, kind of sun worshiper. I think it was right after college when we took a little break in the Virgin Islands and got extremely golden brown, came back, and I just made a decision. I'm not going to spend any more time in the sun. I don't know why. I just thought that. So for someone like me, who's in their 50s and kind of had that sun worshiping history, how much power do I have to stop that sun damage from compounding from here on out?
It's never too late. Prevention is the best form of medicine. I think if we could do everything before it was a problem, we could prevent issues, we should be. And it is never too late. There is obviously some damage that has occurred for you during your youth, just like all of us. And we can't help what that was. We can't go back and fix it. But from this point forward, we can mitigate the damage being done from this point forward. And it's never too late. And while there is this trend of tan maxing, and we're going back to these times that people using tanning beds are back. It's like supposedly this cool thing that people want to smoke a cigarette and go into a tanning bed. And I just am horrified by the whole thing. It's back in a big way. This, teeth whitening strips while they go into a tanning bed. I saw this girl do this post and I had so many comments on the side that were like, oh, this makes me want a cigarette. I'm so excited about this. Like, I can't believe tanning beds are back. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So as much as there's this trend happening, there's also the trend of people like Anne Hathaway in these full body swimsuits, right? She's covered from neck to ankle, and man, she makes aging look amazing. I've never seen skin like hers. And it's because she is very serious about sun protection. She understands that it's never too late. And I'm sure she wasn't always that diligent about sun protection. And I don't know her history, but she is now. She's like, okay, I'm going to take it really seriously. And she understands that from a beauty perspective, obviously, maybe from a medical perspective as well. But it is never too late for any of us to jump onto this and really get smart about what we're doing. But what I hope people understand is that the real time to focus on this is with our kids and the population that is coming up. And if we don't teach them these habits now, we're going to have the same trajectory of disease for, the next few decades. We have to intervene. Like in Australia, they're intervening. They're putting things in place to teach their people, look, you have to wear a 3-inch wide brim hat at recess or you don't go out and play. If you don't have your hat, you don't go play, because they understand how important it is to protect the children's skin. So I hope if anyone gets anything out of this, it's never too late. Jump in, make those protective habits now. And also just the strong focus of we need to be teaching our youth, whether that's your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your grandkids, your friends' kids, we need to be instructing them and giving the education that we didn't have growing up.
Agreed. The tan maxing thing just throws me off.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that when you shared that with me the other day. I thought, really? Because my daughter is very much, she wears the sunscreen. She didn't have the ingredients that you suggested in there, and now we're switching that. But
Good,
I
better,
just
best. At least she's wearing it. It's good.
True. But I'm just shocked. I'm shocked to hear that tan maxing is a thing.
What's a thing? Yeah.
Where I get lost though is, sun protection bottles, they don't really seem to say anything. Like they mineral, chemical, they've got a lot of ingredients I can barely pronounce under the inactive ingredients section. I honestly never knew before I talked to you what was good. Can you explain simply the difference between mineral sunscreen and a chemical one?
Sure. I will do my utmost to try to explain this. I don't love the terminology. I don't like the words chemical and mineral. However, this is what it's widely known as. So we'll stick to this because everything really is a chemical. And I think it's very misleading. But this is how people refer to categories of sunscreen. They put them into 2 categories. And this is done regulatory wise by the FDA in America. And in the United States, the FDA recognizes 2 protective filters as mineral in that category. And they actually don't call it mineral. They call it generally recognized as safe and effective. So it's called GRACE, GRASE, generally is recognized as safe and effective. That is the category they put what we're referencing as mineral into. And it is zinc and titanium only. That is it. So those live in this generally recognized as safe. Then there's another category over here, and they're actually called organic filters, which makes them sound really clean and amazing, and they're not. It just is the fact that they contain, their structural chemical formula. And those are UV chemical filters, the way that we're known, and they're all of the ones like oxybenzone, avobenzone, the ones that are really difficult for you to pronounce that are, it starts with an A and an H and an O, all those letters, if you see those are considered as chemical filters. So those are the 2 categories that people separate. And I can go into more about that, but that's how they regulate those.
Great. And so do the minerals, we talked a little bit about what's getting absorbed into the skin versus what's
Yeah.
sitting on top of the skin. Is that the difference between those two as well, or it all
Yes.
gets absorbed? Okay.
No, this is a really good question and one that is argued. And there is so sunscreen. It's a very cool time to be in sunscreen because there's so much. People want to talk about it. They want to argue it. They have their point of view. There's so much in sunscreen right now. So the best way to talk about the two is mineral sunscreens, or the generally recognized as safe, like zinc and titanium, they are really good at reflecting light. And you can see this when someone does one of those UV cameras. I don't know if you've ever seen someone do a UV camera where it shows up as black and white and then they put sunscreen on their face. If you're comparing a chemical to a mineral, the mineral will look a little lighter on film because it's reflecting the light away. And the chemical will look almost black, well, really black, actually, very, very, very black because it's absorbing the heat. So one of the things that was preached to me quite a bit as a student when I was doing my rotations at the Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston is, these are the top of the line facial reconstructive plastic surgeons that people are, like these are the guys and the women that people are looking to for advice on how to stay the most beautiful. And over again, I would hear them say, okay, put on a sunscreen, but listen, I mean, wear your sunscreen, but if you want to protect what I just did, you're going to wear zinc. That's what you're going to do. You're going to put zinc on your face because that's going to reflect the light. It's not going to trap the heat. You're not going to get the melasma issues. Like, put zinc on your face. That's what you need to find, a sunscreen that has zinc. I would hear that over and over again. And that's because the UV chemical filters, they really do absorb and they trap heat. And do they absorb into the skin? Yes, they do. And we know this because the FDA has conducted their own studies that prove this. The one that was released in 2019, they took 6 of those UV chemical filters. They studied them in 4 different formulations, from spray, lotion, all the 4 different formulations. And all 6 of them, all 6 of these chemical filters in all different 4 formulations were found to be absorbed in the blood and in breast milk of the people that they could test that on. And they were above the concentration that was considered safe, whatever that number is that they came up with, which means they need to have more studies, which is why they are not put in a category of generally recognized as safe, because they don't have all the data and they don't have all the research that they need to have in order to classify them as that. So do they absorb into the system? Yes, absolutely. This has been proven. And people, it's funny, the last few years as I've been promoting my zinc true mineral sunscreen, there's so many people who will say, oh, I mean, they don't know how much the chemical filters absorb, or they'll kind of try to negate the data. And now that there's this new chemical filter that's been introduced to the United States, those same people to promote that will say, oh, this chemical filter doesn't absorb into the bloodstream like the other ones do. And I'm like, you and I just had a conversation that they don't absorb, but now that you want to promote this new chemical filter, you're going to recognize and have a conversation about the data that they do absorb, because they do. Mm-hmm. What do they do once they get absorbed? How much damage do they cause? How much endocrine disruption do they cause? In a human capacity, we don't know that yet. In lab and animal studies, it has been shown that there's been endocrine disruption and thyroid disruption in some of these filters. In a human, we don't know because the research hasn't been done. The studies haven't been done. It's a great big question mark. So until that's been done and proven, it's not something that I'm comfortable using on my family, especially my young children.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So is it correct to say then that the minerals, the zinc, titanium, they sit on top of the skin like a barrier, but the chemicals, they get absorbed? The FDA, proved that in its study.
Yeah. And there are some that will say that, well, zinc is getting absorbed too, but if it is a non-nano zinc particle it's too large to get absorbed, that's what you're really looking for to minimize that absorption rate. You're looking for a non-nano zinc oxide sunscreen that is too large to absorb through the skin barrier. Because there have been people that they know how important zinc is and they know all of these issues with chemicals. So they thought, oh, what if we can make zinc? Because the problem with zinc is that it's thick and white and pasty and unsightly and, not elegant like the chemical formulation. So there have been people that have taken zinc and broken it down to where it's a very small particle size, and we're seeing absorption from that. So you have to look for a non-nano zinc oxide sunscreen. So be really particular about that. And most people who are choosing to use zinc are already choosing the non-nano because we're trying to avoid the absorption. But there are some companies that are trying to do it in a little different way that are
Okay.
not great.
Non-nano, that's a new term to me. I would not have thought
Mhm.
to add that. I wouldn't have, it was even days ago that I would not have even thought I have to have zinc or titanium in my sunscreen. So this is mind blowing.
Well, I mean, you can put on whatever it is you want to put on your skin, but I think it's really important for people to know what they are putting on their skin. And I think that that's a huge issue within sunscreen for sure, and in cosmetics as a whole, is the transparency isn't out there for the consumer. And so unless we're focused on it every day and we're trying to search for this data, which we don't have time to do. Who has time to do that with every single product and ingredient? You certainly don't. I certainly don't.
Right.
I don't think that, it's not necessarily the consumer's fault. I think the bigger issue is the lack of transparency and regulatory oversight that is not being done on cosmetics and sunscreens.
No, completely agreed. Completely agreed. And I'm happy I'm getting educated and bringing this information to our beauty seekers. And so here's what I just got out of our conversation. Mrs. Sunscreen has taught our beauty seek community about whether or not sunscreen protects or ages you. Most of our sunscreen, most of how our skin ages comes from the sun, but sun damage hides. We don't see it for years often. But thankfully, it's never too late to start, especially for someone like me, to protect your skin. And I've always been someone who just kind of now stays in the shade
Great.
because of kind of the way sunscreen feels. But now I'm using my tinted sunscreen and really trying to pay more attention to what I'm purchasing. Like last night, I sat at the store for quite some time and looked at this little bottle. Mrs. Sunscreen said.
Thank you.
And that's because now I understand the first thing to look for in a sunscreen product is that it's a mineral sunscreen. So it's on top of your skin. It reflects the light instead of chemical, which soaks into your body. And who wants anything soaking into their body?
Yeah. Yes. Good point. And to
Okay.
your point, I think that when we're talking about sun protective measures, especially with our children, sunscreen is just one aspect of that, right? I mean, you said seeking shade. That's one of the best ways is to seek shade, especially between the hours of 10 and 2, when those peak sun and the UV is at its very strongest. Let's seek shade. UPF protective clothing, I'm a huge fan of. And, people will call it, oh, that's a scuba suit, whatever. I could care less. I love knowing that I have the protection on. There's really cute designs. Like I bought this really darling one from Bowden the other day, and I had 3 different women stop and ask me where I got it. Like it's fashionable and cute, and it doesn't have to look like a big garbage bag. You can make it look great.
Yeah.
But UPF protective clothing, hats are a huge thing in our family, and really choosing when we're going outside to enjoy activities. So sunscreen is just one protective piece. And one of the things that people don't do well is reapply sunscreen. And people will put sunscreen on one time and then that's it. They'll forget about reapplication, and sunscreen isn't designed to stay on your skin forever, especially the UV chemical filter sunscreen. It degrades in light, so it's not photo stable. The UV chemical sunscreen filters break down in light, which is really ironic where they're meant to be protective against UV rays, but actually that's what breaks them down. And you have to apply those on a regular basis. And one of the other pitches people keep saying is the new UV chemical filter is more photo stable than the other UV chemical filters. And what I always say is, yeah, but zinc has always been photo stable. There's nothing about zinc that breaks down in the sun. It's a photo stable particle, a chemical. It's what it is designed to do, and it does it really well. So another reason to use a mineral and a zinc is that it's very photostable. It doesn't break down in the sun like the UV chemical filters do. But even with that being said, because of the way that we have to formulate it to feel luxurious, it's not like a diaper rash cream, which is made up of zinc, right? Like diaper rash cream you can put on, and open water swimmers will use diaper rash cream because it's designed as a barrier. It's thick and white and it's heavy, and they don't have to reapply it as often. Well, other sunscreens that feel more elegant, you're going to have to reapply your sunscreen, and people don't like to do that. It's like, how do you reapply? Well, you just do it. You just reapply. And when you're using UPF clothing, you don't have to reapply, obviously. So my recommendation to people is always, if you're going to be out for a long period of time, if you're going to be out in the middle of the day, like 10 to 2 or 10 to 4, if you're in, really sunny areas like Hawaii, use UPF clothing, and then high quality true mineral zinc sunscreen on the parts of your body that are exposed, like your ears, the neck, the face, the tops of the feet, the hands, and then reapplication is much less of a headache. You're using high quality product. You don't have to worry that you're wasting money. Because you're spending money on a product. Like there you are at a store, you're going to be spending money on some kind of sun protective product. You might as well be spending it on something that is high quality, that is safe, that is going to get the job done. And there's just so many options that are not as good as what other companies have created. Like myself, I'm proud of our product, but I'm not the only one who's created a great true mineral sunscreen. There's a lot of us out there, but I think you're spending the money either way, and it's just one piece of the equation. So be really careful with how you're navigating your time and your travels and your vacations, right?
Exactly. And just a sidebar, because since we spoke, I've been preaching the mineral sunscreen story. So I was at my friend's house. 3 of us were standing kind of in the shade because there was a pool there. And then my friend was in the sun talking to us. And so I was preaching chemicals and minerals. And she said, gosh, that is exactly why I don't wear sunscreen at all, as she was in the bright sunlight. And I thought, somehow my message didn't land.
Yeah, this is me every day. Somehow my message doesn't land. I don't know how to change people's behaviors, honestly. If you figure that out, you let me know, because I'm spending a lot of money trying to figure out how to change people's behaviors. And some people just, they love the sun. They're believers that, they need a lot of light and a lot of vitamin D, and they don't understand that you actually only need, 30 minutes a week. So go out in the sun for 10 minutes a day unprotected, and you've got all the vitamin D your body can handle, right? Some people just don't get that. And I don't know how to change behaviors. I really don't. It's a difficult thing. But I do think what she's saying is, I don't feel like I can make a safe decision on my sunscreen. I don't want to waste money. I don't know what's good for me. I don't know what's safe for me. And because of that, people are just not, which is not the right answer, right? Like, it's not the right decision to not wear sunscreen. That's not the right choice. If you are nervous about ingredients, if you don't feel comfortable with what you're putting on your skin, do some research. But the recommendation from me would be to use a true mineral sunscreen. And then one thing we haven't talked about yet that we may get into later is that the active ingredients are just one part of the story here. The chemical filters that are listed in the active ingredients, like the mineral, the zinc, or the chemical filters, are just one part of it. The rest of the formula is made up of a lot of other ingredients, and there's so much in there that should be avoided as well. So I understand people just saying, oh, it's too overwhelming, I'm just not going to wear it. But that is not the right choice. We need to find product that we trust and companies that we trust to do a good job.
Agreed. Okay, we're going to get to the inactive ingredients, and thank you so much for being here and educating our community of beauty seekers and their children that they're going to be educating after this interview, including me. I mean, I'm shocked at how uninformed I was before I spoke to you, and still am, about sunscreen protection. But I'm learning, and we're going to bring it to the Beauty Seek community. Beauty Seekers, subscribe to Beauty Seek and you'll get honest, evidence-based answers about the beauty products, treatments, and procedures you actually use, straight from experienced experts like Bree, Mrs. Sunscreen. Bree, picture me in the sunscreen aisle, holding a green bottle in one hand and a yellow one in another, choosing by which frankly looks prettier. I'm a former marketing pro, and I'm heavily influenced by beautiful packaging. When you pick up a sunscreen and read it now, what are you looking for that someone like me might have no idea to check?
Well, I don't think you're alone in any of this. I was a PA, and when my daughter had a horrible allergic reaction to a very popular sunscreen, I had no idea that it was even the sunscreen. I mean, I put it on her skin a week later because I thought maybe she was allergic to the strawberries or the icing in her cake at the cake smash when she had this horrible reaction. And so I didn't know either. And I was practicing medicine for a very long time, and I had no idea. So you're not alone in this. And I don't think anyone needs to feel embarrassed or ashamed that they don't know about it. I think marketing is designed to help us make a purchase. And there are some people who are really, really good at that. They're very good at marketing and design. And there are some sunscreen companies that I look at their design and think, wow, it's so beautiful. And I know that inside is a product now I know is I would never put on my kids. But from the outside, the packaging is so good. And I have been swayed by that for many a years myself. What we know now, what I know now that I'd like to share with everybody listening is that the front of the bottle does not have to tell the story of what are in the ingredients. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of sunscreens on the market, and the latest research I did showed about 96% of mainstream sunscreens on the market today that claim to be mineral. But if you flip the bottle over, and there's two places to look, I don't know how many people will be hearing this or seeing this, but on the top of an ingredient deck, which is that black square that is required by the FDA to be on your bottle, on the back of that bottle, the very top one underneath drug facts says active ingredients. That's where you're going to find either a mineral filter like zinc or titanium, or the chemical filters like avobenzone, oxybenzone, all those, or a combination of those things. Sometimes they're a mix of those kind of filters in the active ingredient list. That is just one part of the story. If you then go down underneath everything else, underneath uses, warning, directions, other information at the very bottom that no one ever looks at, no one's ever even thought to look at, is this inactive ingredient box. And within that box is everything else that actually makes up the formula of your sunscreen. This is everything that you're putting on your skin that has the potential to be absorbed into the largest organ of your body and affect many different body systems that you have. So when it says mineral on the front, when you flip it over, you have to make sure it has zinc or titanium only. Then in the inactive ingredient deck, what we're looking for are UV chemical filters or boosters listed here. It's a UV chemical booster. And the most common one is a butyl octyl salicylate. This is a big long word that people don't memorize very easily, but butyl octyl salicylate, I call it BS because it is BS. And what it is, it's a UV chemical booster that is identical to a UV chemical filter in the body. And the reason that sunscreen companies use it is because it's a filter. It boosts the SPF so that they'll hit their SPF numbers at laboratory testing. And it makes it feel like a UV chemical sunscreen, which is thinner and more watery and lighter, and because it's absorbing into your skin the way that a UV chemical filter would. It makes the formulation feel more elegant, which is why formulators have been using it and companies have been using it for decades, because you can say mineral on the front and people think, oh, I'm buying a mineral sunscreen. But one of the ones I picked up yesterday had 2% zinc, which means it is a chemical sunscreen, but it was claiming mineral all over the front. And I'm like, 2%? Ours has 20% zinc oxide. Theirs has 2%. So the formulation between ours at 20% and theirs at 2%, not the same. So when you're looking for percentages of mineral, anything less than 20%, I don't believe, in my experience formulating sunscreen for the last 4 years, they are able to hit an SPF of 30 or higher with less than 20% zinc. Maybe 15%, maybe, but it's stretching it. So anything less than 15% zinc, I would never even touch, because even with that, you always have to make sure there's no filter here, but they're not hitting their SPF numbers without boosters.
Wow.
It's very confusing and technical. I don't know how to explain it in a more interesting, simple way. I don't know.
It is. And it is. And so that's why I think, when we go to the shelves, we think, oh, mineral sunscreen, which I didn't even know until recently mineral needed to be on the label, and that was good. I just thought sunscreen. Oh, reef safe. It must be
right.
good.
And reef safe, again, this is another one of those workarounds that, like, even if the front of the bottle says 100% mineral, it can still have UV chemical boosters, even if it says 100% mineral, which is so crazy to me that the FDA has allowed this loophole to stand for so long. And I wish that they would jump in and take some accountability and make some transparency of companies required to say, okay, this is actually a hybrid sunscreen. There are many people that are fine using a UV chemical filter. And that's great. But there are some people out there like myself, and probably many of the people listening, that are not comfortable with that. They're looking for a true mineral sunscreen without UV chemical boosters in it. And if it says 100% mineral on the front, consumers are going to assume this is a mineral sunscreen when it is not. And it is such a loophole that the FDA has allowed for so many years. I can't believe that they've allowed it. And I would challenge them to make these regulatory changes so that there's transparency in our sunscreen. So people know if they're buying a true mineral or a hybrid or a UV chemical sunscreen, people should be able to choose. And if we don't have that obvious for people, it's very difficult for them to sit there and analyze this at the grocery store with a 2-year-old screaming in their cart, right? It just isn't the reality for people.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're educated enough to know and you don't have your glasses with you, you can't even read the inactive ingredients.
Yeah. And there's so many UV chemical filters, boosters, aside from butyl salicylate. There's a whole list of them to include. I'll say this. There's a couple of apps that can help people in this category so that you don't have to remember these names. My favorite one is called Switch Natural. It's a paid app. I don't have any skin in this game. I don't own Switch Natural. I don't get paid for promoting it in any way, shape, or form. I just really love the app. And you can take a picture on the app of the back of anything, but of a sunscreen bottle. And it will tell you if it has boosters in it or not. It'll tell you if it is considered a truly clean, not a greenwash clean, but a clean product. And I really love that the app Switch Natural. So I would encourage people to download that onto your phone. There are other ones, like the Yucca or the Yucca app. I don't know how familiar you are with that app. And that one is free. You on that one, you scan a barcode. So the issue with that one for me is, one, I don't always agree with some of the ways that they differentiate safe or not. But two, companies are constantly changing their ingredient deck. And sometimes the barcode doesn't get updated to match. So an old formulation could be without a booster or filter, but then the new formulation has it. And you don't know that because they haven't updated their barcode and their ingredients. So I love Switch Natural because it's real time and it's showing you that here's the ingredients. Tell me if it's clean or not what's registered through the barcode. So I really appreciate that app. It's been a really good one for my community, for my home, is I'm trying to now, moving on from sunscreen, I'm trying to look at all my things like hairspray and shampoo and conditioner and makeup. And, my 11-year-old wants to start wearing makeup. So we go into Sephora and I'm like, there's 2 things I'll let you get in here that are I don't have issues with. I mean, there's hardly anything in that store that I will allow her to get, but that app has been really helpful in helping me decide and choose.
That's so interesting because, yes, I did that research back in the day about which makeup at Sephora I could wear that was the most natural and organic. And here I am clueless about sunscreen.
Well, yeah, now you know better.
I know. I'm so happy. It was, serendipity that you came to me. Breelyn Vanleeuwen, who goes by Bree and is known as Mrs. Sunscreen, spent 15 years in medicine before she even formulated a sunscreen product. And when she couldn't find a truly clean sunscreen for her own kids, well, she did what we'd all do. We hire a cosmetic chemist and spent 4 years building her own line, Daily Shade, from scratch. And thank you for doing that. Bree, welcome back to Beauty Seek.
Thank you.
We're so excited to have you. According to Newsweek, the number of cosmetic ingredients banned in the US is about 11. And so I would guess that like Europe and the rest of the world ban roughly the same amount of cosmetic ingredients. Scale of 1 to 10. How true is that?
Can we go into the negatives? Can we go into like negative a million on this one? Europe has banned 1,700 ingredients and adding to that on a regular basis. We have banned 11, which kind of makes you a little sick to your stomach. It makes you feel like no one is looking out for my family. No one is looking out for me. No one is looking out for what I'm purchasing. 1,700 ingredients have been banned in the EU and only 11 have been banned here.
Okay. That is, yes, motivation to read the ingredients and have an app that will scan it. That is shocking.
Yeah, it is.
Well, and some of the ingredients, they're almost masked by the name of them. Like when I scan an ingredient list and I see the word fragrance, sometimes I think, oh, it's fragrance. Lovely. That sounds nice. Yeah. 1 to 10. How safe is it to assume the word fragrance on a label is just like one harmless ingredient?
A zero. I never choose something that just says fragrance on it anymore. I didn't used to be this way, and I'm slowly turning into this crunchy mom. Fragrance is a very tricky word. Fragrance in and of itself doesn't mean that the product is unsafe, because fragrance is just a big umbrella term that means the company doesn't have to report what makes up their fragrance, because that would share their proprietary blend. And so they said, okay, just put fragrance, and that way we don't have to have, all your proprietary information out there. Well, what that's done is it's created a bunch of question marks that I don't know what that word fragrance is encompassing. I don't know what's living underneath that. And there are certain chemicals within this fragrance category that are known to be endocrine disruptors. There are certain ones that are known, like the musks. The heavy musks is sort of the big one there that really do interrupt the way that our body functions, the way that it is supposed to naturally do its job. And never in a time in this country have people been more unhealthy. Never have I seen people have, and especially young people, have major weight issues, health issues, adults the same. It's unbelievable how unhealthy we are when we have so much available to us. And so the last 10 years especially, I have really rethought the way that I am purchasing and my purchasing behavior. And fragrance is one of those for me that is a big red flag. And it always makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, where I'm like, oh, that's a no. If they can't report how they're creating these fragrances, if they're not reporting exactly what's making these up, it's a hard no for me. So fragrance is a no, especially in a product that's a daily wear. So for our product at Daily Shade, when we were creating this daily wear sunscreen, one, fragrance is one of the biggest allergens out there, especially for children. Anytime someone's having an eczema flare or some kind of allergic reaction, one of the first things you check is the fragrance. So we wanted to eliminate that allergic contact dermatitis potential completely, but then also the question marks of really, what does this lead to? If it was questionable, we took it out. I mean, even dimethicone, which I actually feel comfortable using dimethicone, but there's a camp of people who don't feel comfortable using dimethicone. And I knew that there was this camp of people, and I said, take it out. If there's a question mark around the safety of the ingredient, we removed it. So we chose to stick to the EU standard of 1700, and I will say plus, because we took it a little step further than even the EU. And we chose to keep all of those ingredients out of every single formula that we've created, which is a real challenge. I mean, there are reasons why people and companies use these ingredients that are not banned here, because they are inexpensive, easily accessible. They make your product feel like $1,000,000. I get it, but it wasn't worth the safety and efficacy of my formulation that I was creating for my family. So yeah, it's a big conversation. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for creating a product, and with dedicated to protect people like me. I really appreciate that, because I know that's a lot of work.
It is. And it was really for my kids. Like, I made it because I couldn't find what I needed for my family. And I couldn't believe that the year that we were in, it was in 2020, back when all of this began for me. I couldn't believe that I couldn't find what I needed for my family in a time when there were, huge advances in technology. I couldn't find a sunscreen that had ingredients that I felt great about putting on my kid and didn't make them look like they had diaper rash cream slathered all over their body. I just couldn't believe it wasn't a thing. And I made it for my family. So every product that I put out there, the benchmark is, would I put this on my kid or not? And if there's a question mark, or if there's any kind of, it's a no, right? Like, unless it's a hard, yes, this is 100%, I feel great about this, then we don't include it. And that's based on data and analysis and all of the scientific studies that we go into. But we did stick to the EU regulatory guidelines, and it was difficult and hard. And I can see why companies don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. I can understand that, just for ease in the supply chain and so forth. But no, this is going on human bodies.
Right.
You encouraged me to do a little deeper research after we last met, and I found a 2020 study published in JAMA, the Journal of American Medical Association. Some sunscreen ingredients pass through the skin, as we've discussed, and have been then found in people's blood and breast milk, as you've said. One of those ingredients is banned in Hawaii for killing coral reefs. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you ever be, and I think I know the answer, but to ever put an ingredient like that in your sunscreen line, Daily Shade?
Oh, zero. Yeah, we're never going to include that. Even the new UV chemical filter that everybody's raving about, that will never be part of the Daily Shade story because we are purely zinc. That's all we use in our active ingredient deck, and we do not use UV chemical boosters ever. But the reef safe thing, that's one of those that I don't know the efficacy and the validity of reef safe has some question marks around it for me. And I don't think that it's been fully proven out what is reef safe and what is not reef safe. So that really does need more research and more examining to determine that. For example, if they're going to put into a camp and say, well, this UV chemical filter camp is not allowed here, but they aren't banning the UV chemical booster that does the exact same thing, I think it's just because the research hasn't been completed and done to fully say that it's reef safe or not reef safe. So in theory, zinc sunscreen or mineral sunscreen is considered reef safe based upon the Hawaii Safety Active sunscreens. And so, yes, ours falls into that category of what they currently have is reef safe. But I personally have a lot of question marks around that, where I would like to see some more data and research and literature really supporting it. So yes, ours is considered reef safe, and it's really reef safe because it doesn't have UV chemical boosters in it. But I think some of the sunscreens that I see getting around that and making its way into Hawaii, because I just went to Hawaii for a few weeks a couple months ago and went into Costco to just see what was available for people to purchase. And the ingredients that that are allowed to be in there, I'm like, man, I don't think we see the full picture yet. I don't think we understand really what is affecting the coral reef, because we're only banning a couple of ingredients, where I think it should be spread out a lot larger to a lot of other ingredients that also shouldn't be included. So at the limited amount of research that we have, yes, ours is considered reef safe, but I think it's a much bigger picture that we're not seeing everything on right now.
Okay, that's good to know. Reef safe might not be completely reef safe. We just don't know.
Yeah,
We don't have
just
the
don't
data.
know. Yeah, we don't have the data, so I hate to speak to that in a firm, sure way, because we just don't have the data to know.
Okay. Well, since we're on zinc, confession, I mean, I must have bought zinc sunscreen, not even knowing that it was a good thing for me. But I always forget how thick it is. So I spray it on my face, and I'm like, oh, it's that thing with the white polka dots and you can't get it off. So I dab it in, and there's a mess everywhere. And I even went to my hairstylist maybe a day or two later, and she's like, oh, you have white
residue
paint on your skin, and I'm an artist as well, so I was like, oh, gee, I got to remember, don't get the zinc. It's kind of what was in my head. Right. So 1 to 10, how comfortable could a beauty seeker like me feel wearing a modern zinc sunscreen to a special event like a summer wedding and still look beautiful, not cakey and spotty or ghostly?
Oh, 10 out of 10. You just have to find the right company and the right formulation for you. Look, mineral sunscreen has come such a long way from where it was back in the 80s, right? With the traditional surfer zinc stripe down the nose. It isn't that way anymore. Are there still formulas that look like that? Yes. There are still formulas, and those are the ones that I was using on my daughter before I made my own, trying to find something. And that was, I guess, the biggest complaint is I was like, oh my goodness, there is really, especially with children, very limited options of what I can use for my child that meets this ingredient profile that is important to me and my family and doesn't make her look like a white little ghost. But is it impossible? No. That is one of the biggest things that we fixed is we created a aesthetically pleasing, lightweight, water-based formula that disappears on the skin like magic. But the water-based part is one that I want to touch on, because a lot of the natural mineral sunscreens out there are oil-based, which means they feel heavy and greasy and oily. And a lot of those contain tallow. We don't believe in using tallow in our product. I just don't know where we started putting beef fat on our face for a good thing. Like, I don't know where that started, who came up with it, and I can't believe it's even a beauty trend. But there's a lot of the sunscreens out there that are, have tallow in them that are oil-based product, which makes them feel like a stick of butter on your skin, right? Ours is water-based, which is the real challenge with our formulation, which is probably the biggest singular hurdle that we overcame during those 4 years of formulation, is that we were just kept told over and over again, like, this, you can't make a natural mineral sunscreen water-based without a booster. It just isn't done. And we were told that for 4 years until we did it, right? Until we figured it out, like, oh, turns out you can. It's hard and there's challenges with it, but it turns out you can do it. It can be done. And we did do that. And I'm not the only one on the market. I haven't, invented something completely new, but it isn't done well very often. It's not done well very often. And we do it well, but it's not done well very often. Is it possible? 10 out of 10. Is it easy to find? No, 0 out of 10. Not easy. 1 out of 10, maybe. Not easy to find, but possible to create one and find a formula that is like that.
Yeah, I think that would be needed. I would love to have something that I could just put on under my makeup every morning.
Yeah, that's what I do every day. Put it on under my makeup every single day.
Well, and you have amazing skin, girl. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I love that. You also taught me that tinted sunscreens, which now I open my drawer, I'm like, okay, put on my tinted sunscreen. Bree taught me. They get their color from an ingredient called mica. And when you were building Daily Shade, you looked deeply into the supply chain to check where every ingredient in your line comes from. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you find out about mica?
I was so naive to where ingredients came from prior to this. I had never thought about owning my own business or starting a product line or talking about where products come from or sourcing of anything. I've never, so it was so new to me. And I can't explain to you the amount of shock that I had discovering where products come from and some of the places and supply chains that happen with those products were absolutely shocking to my system. The biggest shock was the mica for sure. We get our coloration from iron oxides, and then, this mica is an ingredient that helps it look awesome. And actually, mica is in so many of your products. And I'm talking from parts of your car are made with mica to the glittery, beautiful foundation that goes on top of your eyelid has mica in it. It's in a huge aspect of our life. We use it all of the time. And never one time did I think about where is this being sourced from? And what we found is that there are mica farms and this is affecting thousands, tens of thousands of people that are working these little tiny small children. And this is a real thing. You can go and Google this and look at videos. And, I think NBC did a big expose on it back in 2019, but you can go watch these videos where there's just thousands of children who spend their every waking day, sun up to sundown, in the heat, being strapped onto their mother's back, going down into these mines and chipping mica off the walls, then coming up and sitting in this hot weather, breaking apart rock and trying to get the mica apart from whatever rock structure it's connected to. And they're just around this mica dust going into their respiratory system, just breathing all of this in all day long. And they're not getting hardly paid to do this. They make $3 a week as a family on average. For their entire family, they get half a cup of rice for their entire family to eat a day. They have to sleep where they're farming it because people will come and steal whatever they've farmed, whatever they've gotten out of the earth, and they'll steal it. It's just shocking. And this is happening all day, every day, currently, right this second today, in parts of Africa and parts of India, all over the world, there's issues with this. And the only way that this is going to end is when companies start saying, I refuse to buy mica because I know that you have little children mining this. I know that you're not paying your employees. I know that they have horrible working conditions. I mean, it's not going to end until companies can step up and do that. And I'm a tiny little fish in such a great big world. And there are people spending so much more money than I am purchasing these mica. So it will continue until companies and their ability to participate. But I have chosen, even in this small little capacity that I have chosen not to participate in that kind of mica farming and sourcing. So we purchase ours from an ethical, very carefully sourced mica farm where they do not have child employees. They pay their people fair wages. They have a very standard way of doing it correctly. And we pay a lot more for it. And I'm totally fine with that. Right? Like, I'm paying what should be paid for the labor that is being done. And I'm paying what should be paid. So I'm okay doing that. But I wish that there were other companies that maybe they're not aware of it. Maybe they don't know about it. Maybe they do and they still choose to do. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm aware of it. And once I was aware of it, it was like, whoa, how do we not play into that train? How do we get ourselves as far away distance from that as possible? Right. So that's how we've decided to source our mica. And if there's people out there who want to talk more about that initiative, and it's proprietary, like, all of our, where we source exactly, but I can give them direction to how we found out ways to use the sustainably sourced mica farms and how we kind of went down that path. For anyone interested, you're welcome to reach out to me. But trying to determine, one, the ingredients, and then the next layer is where do we get them from and what does that look like and how are they getting sourced, is a whole new world that I was opened up to that I didn't even know existed before all of this.
Yes. And I'm glad you went through that process and you're sharing that with us because, out of sight, out of mind, we don't, we think we're just looking at a list of ingredients that are good for us, but what about good for others? So, thank you.
And the earth and the world. And how are we contributing to the larger picture? And this isn't something that I really crossed my mind until 2020 when I was really starting to formulate. And it was like, what kind of footprint are we leaving? And am I leaving for my children? And it's a big conversation, but this is one of the ways that I'm really trying to stand by that thought.
I appreciate that. I think you're taking the responsibility of being a manufacturer very seriously and considering many audiences. Thank you.
No, thanks.
Beauty Seekers, for those of us interested in not slathering hidden chemicals on our largest organ, our skin, here's what Mrs. Sunscreen just taught us. Clean ingredients is a low bar in the US. Skip oxybenzone. The FDA found it soaks into your blood and it shows up in breast milk, and it's banned in Hawaii for harming coral reefs. Watch for, let's see if I can say this, butyloctyl salicylate, hiding in the inactive list. It's a chemical in sunscreen, which means it can absorb into your skin. And who wants anything to absorb into your skin? We want it to reflect the sun. And treat the word fragrance, which I thought was so beautiful, as a warning sign, because no one has to tell you what's in fragrance. Mrs. Sunscreen, the FDA recognizes only 2 ingredients as safe and effective at protecting us from the sun. What are those, and why are they the only 2 that are approved?
The only 2 UV filters that the FDA has generally recognized as safe and effective, and it's an acronym that's GRASE on their website, is zinc and titanium. Those are the only 2 UV filters.
Very good. Very simple. There's no reason to think beyond that. Breelyn Vanleeuwen, who goes by Bree and is known as Mrs. Sunscreen, is the founder, CEO, and formulator of Daily Shade, a line she spent 4 years building around one ingredient. She's an adjunct professor in a physician associate program and the principal investigator on a skin health awareness grant that has trained over 400 professionals on sun safety. Bree, welcome back to Beauty Seek.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here still. We've had so much fun already. This will be a fun 3rd episode.
There's so much to talk about. We could do a series of 20 of these, right?
Yeah, we could.
Here's what I've never checked on my sunscreen bottles until now, and that is the percentage of zinc printed right on the label. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does that one number decide whether your sunscreen actually protects you?
It's huge in that decision. I would put that right up there with 8 or 9. We have to do a little bit more research in the other ingredients, but if you have a product that has a high percentage of zinc, titanium is also there. We don't formulate titanium, so I'm really focused on zinc, but you can include the word titanium in this conversation when I'm saying zinc. I like to include in my zinc-based sunscreens 20% or higher zinc. So our lotion for daily wear has 20% zinc. Our sport line will have a higher percentage of 25. Our stick has 25%. I mean, we're really pushing as far up as we can possibly go. The reason we didn't go higher than that is because they didn't allow it. They say you can only put 25% in and that's it. So we're at the top of what they allow us to include in our sunscreen formulations. There are products that will say mineral that will have 2% zinc, 1% zinc. There's no I think, I don't know the actual minimums. I would assume it's 1% because I saw one yesterday that had 2% zinc and it said mineral all over the front of the bottle. And I thought, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? So yeah, the percentage of zinc is very important. I would say as a general rule of thumb, if it has less than 15%, that is, I mean, even 15% is really pushing it. I've done formulation now and SPF testing for years, enough to tell you that if a product has less than 20%, I would be very suspicious. Less than 15, I wouldn't use it. But I would be very suspicious if it had less than 20% zinc.
Okay, so 20% is as high as you can go, and that is the number we should be shooting.
25 is as high as we can go. We did 20 in our daily wear because we didn't need it to hit an SPF any higher than 30. So we have 20% in our daily wear. Our sport lines have a higher percentage of 25. But if you have a sunscreen formulation that you're looking on the back in this active ingredients section, right below drug facts, it says active ingredients. It should be zinc oxide 15% or higher, ideally 20%. Would be fantastic, and even higher for a sport or long wear moment. So our sport line has 25%.
Okay, thank you. That is the one number we should be looking at. That's how much zinc should be in 15, maybe 20
bare
for
minimum.
Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, 15% bare minimum. 20 would be ideal.
Okay, that's an important number we need to remember. 15, actually bare minimum, and 20 is the number you'd like to be at for zinc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My friend got a really bad sunburn and she blamed it on expired sunscreen. And honestly, at the time I was skeptical. I was like, how does a mineral expire? A scale of 1 to 10, how true is it that expired sunscreen can leave you unprotected?
10 out of 10. I wouldn't ever put an expired sunscreen on my skin now, knowing what I know in formulation. The ways that we formulate a product do have a lifetime stamp on them. They have a lifetime moment. And if you go past that, we will have efficacy issues. SPF numbers won't hit. There is degradation. There is breakdown. There is separation that will happen. So that expiration date is no joke. I would 100% stick to that.
Okay. I might have to apologize, my friend, but I didn't tell her I was dubious at the time.
Well, I mean, yeah, she could have. There's probably a lot of reasons why that occurred. Like reapplication is the number one reason people get sunburned, and they say, "I use my sunscreen," and then when you get into it, you're like, "Did you reapply?" Well, no, I put it on in the morning, and I still got sunburned. And it's like, well, yeah, were you in the water? You should be reapplying your sunscreen. So there's probably a variety of reasons why that occurred, but expired sunscreen is not reliable.
Okay. Good. Okay. So expiration dates are legit. Okay.
Yeah.
Bree, I know this work. I can just feel it. It's so personal for you. And I know you're going through a family journey right now about the damage that the sun can cause. Would you be willing to share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. The reason that I started this company way back in the day is because I was working in reconstructive facial plastics as a PA. And I would see so many people come through trying to repair a preventative moment of having skin cancers removed. And now they're coming to see us, hoping that we can do something to make it look less obvious on their skin. We're trying to heal the scars. We're trying to put tissue back together in a better way so that they don't have to have reminders of the cancer that they went through. And what I realized at that time, especially when I was put on a research grant studying skin cancer prevention and awareness, was that the majority of sun damage for my family is happening so much earlier in the years of their life than I thought. So what finally clicked for me, and it didn't click till I was a mother of 2, is that my children need sun protection even more than I do. And not that I don't need it, I'm very careful with myself, but my skin is a lot less vulnerable than my children's, who is brand new and it is still developing. And it's a different kind of situation when they're little. They're at much more of a risk to getting burned and damaged than we are even older. So it became imperative to me that my family, all of us, not just me, but my children and my husband, when I can force it on his skin, it's like running out the door and I'm slapping it on his face, right? That we all are being protected from the sun. But then what happened is when I was trying to use sunscreen on them every day, my daughter had a horrible reaction to a sunscreen that said mineral and babies. And it was targeted to moms purchasing sunscreen for babies. And I thought I was doing the right thing. And she broke out in an awful rash that required her to be put on a steroid for 2 weeks. And I had no idea that it was the sunscreen. I actually put it on her again because I didn't realize that's what had caused it. And she had the same horrible reaction. And it wasn't until that moment, even after someone who had been practicing medicine for over a decade, I didn't realize how important what we put on our skin, how important that is, right? I didn't realize that it mattered so much. But the skin is the largest organ of our entire body, and everything you put on it absorbs within minutes. And whether you want that absorbing or whether you don't, that's the question mark, is what kind of damage is this product doing that's absorbing into my body, and how much is it absorbing, and is it absorbing? Well, I've been negating that out of my family's home for the last several years, and it is a process. I've had to change and shift everything that we are using on a daily basis. And I'm not going to recommend that people go throw out their entire medicine cabinet and cosmetic cabinet. This is not helpful, and it's not a possibility. It's too expensive. But what I would recommend to people, and what I've been doing, is every time I run out of something, I try to choose a better, safer product the next time I buy it, because I'm going to be buying it anyway. I'm going to be purchasing hairspray, whether I buy one that's ideal for my family or not. I'm going to be spending money on it. So when I run out of what I already have, I reevaluate it and I say, is there a product that has better, cleaner ingredients for my family that I could use in place of this? And I've been doing that slowly but steadily over the course of the last few years. And it is a process. It is a journey. I'm on that. And yeah, I think you have to start somewhere. I started in sunscreen, but everyone could start with whatever it is they're using on a daily basis. That's what I would recommend, is whatever product you're using on a daily, regular basis, start there. Don't start with your one-hit wonders that you're only using occasionally. That's not as beneficial as the daily products that you're choosing for your family. Toothpaste, deodorant, hairspray, shampoo, conditioner, sunscreen, lotion, right? Those are the daily products that we're encountering.
I had one of those horrible reactions from a deodorant. I just had to get one replacement one at one point and didn't have my normal organic one. And everywhere, all the way up to my lips were, it was shocking.
I'm so sorry.
And then, but the same thing happened. I think it was a few months later. I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that. And I put just a little on. It was.
It was. You learn the hard way. We've all been there. And that angioedema where the tissue was expanding. And I mean, my daughter had that with the sunscreen. It broke my heart. Like she was retaining water. She was so swollen and had such a severe reaction that she was retaining water. She was puffy. I could see the water oozing out of her skin. Like it was just terrible. And then I did it to her a second time because I didn't know, didn't recognize, didn't realize. I thought it was something that she ate in the cake. I didn't even think about what it was, if it was something that I put on her skin or not. So it was a difficult lesson to learn. I'm glad I learned it early on in my parenting journey. And my young twins are like the ideal case scenario because they've come after all of this learning. And my two oldest ones are the OGs who were exposed to a lot of things I wish they wouldn't have been. But here we are. It's a journey.
Exactly. But they're still young and under 18, right? When all of that. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that journey, because I think it's such a great example. We can do this. We probably won't go manufacture our own products, but but we can
use apps. We can get educated. We can choose the companies that we're purchasing from. We can demand to have safer, better products for our family with our wallet. That's how we choose. That's how companies learn what they can get away with and what they can't. We have to be a consumer that decides with their wallet. That's how we choose. So when you run out of, don't go out and buy everything again right now. But when you run out of it, do some research on that product and just take a few minutes and look it up on an app and do some research.
Exactly. No, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to include that app with the story on Beauty Seek here too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, you're such a great example for us. And it's a real legit thing. I have a sister-in-law who's had to have much of her skin on her nose removed. Thankfully, the rest of her body is healthy, but I remember her husband saying, oh, I saw her in her bikini and she was, like back in the day. So she was a sun worshiper, like many of us were as well. And so all of this, now I'm taking sun protection very seriously now, thanks to everything I've learned from you. And so here at Beauty Seek, we took everything that we think we could synthesize from your message to us, and we tried to whittle it down into 4 simple questions that can be asked before purchasing sun protection. And we'd love for you to give us your feedback. We're calling it the SAFE Sunscreen Scan.
Very exciting.
Let's run it by you and see what you say. Okay, so the Beauty Seek SAFE Sunscreen Scan, S, stick to minerals.
Oh, I love that for me. Yes, approved. I love that for
Perfect.
me.
Okay, great. We have to have one or both minerals, zinc or titanium. A, the amount of zinc, 20%, 15 minimum, 20% is
I would say
desired.
let's stick to 20. I love 20. I think then we're in a safe zone. The odds of boosters being included is less. So 20. Let's stick with 20. I love it.
Okay, great. Okay, good. That's easy to remember. Now, this one's kind of a compilation of a few, so we might have to drill down a bit. Free of junk, like the inactives, oxybenzone, butylacyl salicylate, and fragrance. It's kind of a gathering of a bunch of the free of junk.
Yeah. And that's the one that people fail the most often. So F can also be for fail, because this is the spot that we don't take time to look in. And this is the spot that people get probably bamboozled the most in, is the inactive ingredient deck. So I would really highly encourage people to look at everything that's in their sunscreen, not just the actives. You want to know everything that's in your sunscreen and make sure that it's a true mineral, which is a term that we use a lot at Daily Shade, because we want people to understand there's a difference between just quote unquote mineral, and people can slap it on a bottle and they can say, oh, ours is mineral, when it really is a hybrid and it's a mixture of a lot of different chemical filters and has boosters in it, all the things. So that is, I would say, and all the other ingredients we talked about, the 1,700 banned ingredients in the EU, that's where you're going to find those, right? Is in the inactive ingredient deck. And that's where a lot of the harm and issues actually come from, is there. So I would say that F is the biggest fail and the part we should be paying a lot of attention to.
Will you share that app again one more time so everybody knows? Gosh,
Yes, the app is called Switch Natural. And again, I don't have any skin in this game. I don't have any ownership in it. I'm not getting paid to say this. It's an app that I really have found helpful for my family and I believe in. And I really love the person who created it. I've gotten to witness her go through. I've never met her in person. We've talked online just with me saying how much I enjoy her product and her supporting Daily Shade. It's been really nice to meet people who have similar thoughts as you, but I don't have any financial anything into this. It's just an app that has been very beneficial for our family. It's called Switch Natural. It is paid, but it's a small amount a year. It's not much, and totally worth it so that you can decide on what are the safest choices for my family. And when you're in the grocery store, like I told you, you scan the actual ingredient deck. Like you take a picture of the whole backside of this drug fact panel, and it will scan it and tell you if it is considered truly clean and natural.
that sounds great. We should have her on Beauty Seek.
You should. Yeah, she's great.
Great. Founder of Switch Natural. We're coming for you.
Do it.
Okay. And then the last letter of SAFE is E, expiration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one speaks for itself. Do not use expired sunscreen. You have to purchase new sunscreen. It's not worth it.
Okay, great. Okay. Anything that you think we missed and we have to make this like safety or something?
I think it's great. I think SAFE is a fantastic acronym. It hits all the high points for us. The only other one that I thought of when I read it, and I don't know how to put a W in it, would be water resistance. A lot of sunscreens we assume are water resistant, but they are not designed for water. And I come across many of those, especially in the grocery store, especially in the natural category space. They're not water resistant because once you, from a formulation side, it's very difficult to make a product water resistant and elegant on the skin. It's a very difficult thing to do. So if they're not able to do it, they just don't make the claim and they don't test it for water resistance. They're just testing it for SPF. So if I would encourage people, if you're going out into an athletic moment where you're sweating or swimming, make sure that your sunscreen is water resistant.
Water resistant, so important. Okay, so
SAFE W.
I know.
Incorporate the W. I don't know.
Was safe?
Yeah. There you go. Was safe. That's it. Yeah. Or safer. You could just put resistant, and that would stand for water resistant. Maybe safer works.
Safer.
And then it could be that's better. And then it could be water resistant.
This is so great. Brie, okay, we
figured
it out. Let's re-edit. Let's redo this whole thing.
I actually love people hearing it in real time because this is really how I'm thinking about it. So I think that would incorporate pretty much all the high points that we need to.
Okay, perfect. And thank you for helping. I mean, you inspired it. So
wonderful.
It's co-owned. Bree,
Wonderful.
thank you so much for sharing your years of research and experience. I truly believe that the work that you are doing will help beauty seekers to take sun protection much more seriously for themselves and their children. We believe in you and we want you to succeed on your mission. You are a gift to beauty seekers who
Oh,
love the sun and want to love it more by protecting themselves. Thank you.
oh, thank you for caring and thank you for spreading this information. It's very important and it's not a sexy topic, It's not like one of those like really fascinating sexy topics, but it deserves so much attention because it affects the way that we will age and our children, especially how they will age in the future, how we're aging and our health. That's so vital. So thank you for shedding light on it and talking about it and all the importance of it. I mean, skin cancer is the most common cancer in America and it is the most preventable, which is just mind boggling that the most common cancer out there could be prevented if we were just doing the right things and choosing the right products and making the right habits. So thank you for shedding light on it. It's a very important topic.
You're welcome. I didn't even know until speaking to you that skin cancer was the most prevalent cancer.
And most preventable. How crazy is that?
And let's not forget that, and the most preventable.
Yeah.
Beauty seekers, thank you for spending this time with us and Breelyn Vanleeuwen, Mrs. Sunscreen. She's the founder and formulator of Daily Shade, a mineral, meaning zinc-based sunscreen or titanium, but her product has zinc in it, designed to truly protect your skin without crossing into your bloodstream. Subscribe to Beauty Seek and reduce the odds that you'll ever buy a beauty product blind again.